Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This series is for the advanced, not too serious, but more of those eternal soul seekers, Monadic Twin Flames and Starseeds. So lately I have been, creating content on so many different levels. And for me, this is how I create content. I'll be inspired. I'll suddenly have a thought, and then I'll think about it, and then I'll discuss it with my DM sometimes. And then I'll delve right into the teaching. So today, what I'm going to talk about is about. I'm doing a series, a 10 episode series about Monadic Twin Flames, star seeds, and today we are going to do part 4 on our longer discourse. So this discourse, we are going to talk about Monadic Twin Flames, and we're going to talk about separation. So I'm going to title this discourse Monadic Twin Flames and the Breakpoint of Conscious Evolution. The sacred fracture, which is the separation that initiates real union. So this is going to be an advanced discourse for all of you all to enjoy. And I'm going to delve right into it. So this will be part of our 10-part sacred discourse not for the faint-hearted, of course. So this falls under crossing the threshold of intelligence on the Monadic Twin Flame and Starseed path. So part 4 continues from the main topic on soul remembrance and galactic return to love. So we're going to I did talk about separation. I did a live on higher self orchestration. I have lately been, thinking, discussing, expanding on how I'm going to shape my views and opinions on matters, right? Connected to the twin flame journey. So that's why we are going to really, really delve deep into what exactly happens after all the shattering that takes place within us. So in the Monadic Twin Flame journey, you got to remember, separation is not failure. Separation is not does not mean that you have done something wrong. Separation is actually divine intelligence. And that is the reason why for Monadic Twin Flames, for people who fall under our category, our journey is not going to unfold in a linear, romantic, 6-stage, 7-stage, 8-stage. It's not going to be like split soul twin flames, and it's neither going to follow a procedure. In Monadic Twin Flame journeys, remember, every one of our journeys are very, very sacred, very, very unique. And because we come from all over the galaxies and beyond, and from totally different corners of the multiverses and beyond, we carry a lot of experience. We carry a lot of innate knowledge. We go through crazy level torture on a galactic level, like being kidnapped by the not so good energies and tortured in their consciousness prisons. We become diplomatic prisoners sometimes, and we operate, we come from places where we have operated in 8D, in 9D, galactic council levels, multiverses levels. Literally, after going everywhere, you decide, you know what, it's time to come in to planet Earth for one purpose: to anchor the new template of love and to shatter the matrix. And when we come in with such a huge purpose, like literally like United Nations envoys, we come in for a mission, but the mission has many, many layers. And one of the biggest layers is being in separation with our divine counterpart. And after all that we have been through, we have gone through, our soul history and beyond, as Monadic Twin Flames, you will realize separation is actually a blessing, because if it doesn't happen, there's no way for us to wake up. So, in other words, it unfolds like a soul reconstruction protocol coded across what I've been talking about: timelines, dimensions, and light body architectures. So, at this center stage, what we call twin flame separation is actually a break point. It is a break point to the event, to the sequence of our journey. So it basically breaks the 3D illusion beyond repair. So this is exactly the point in our incarnation where the seeker dies and our true remembrance begins. Remember, this is not symbolic. This is energetic surgery. So what is this break point really? So when we delve deeper into it, the separation phase, the break point, is an override command initiated by our higher selves, our monadic higher selves, where our ego is the freaking narrative and it becomes totally incompatible with our divine timeline. That's why this situation of separation is actually a soul imposed disintegration of illusion, but it often shows up as something deceptively, extremely, very ordinarily. So, example, going back to the famous lines, I don't want you, I'm not interested in you, I'm going to choose someone else. These are actually programs that are intentionally placed as part of the separation protocol to trigger the sequence of everything that unfolds. So, our divine masculines, either in category 1, the karmic detourer, or the silent initiate, both are terribly worse in their own way. But they have to do what they have to do: disappear, ghost, block, betray, humiliate, or even distance. All of that happens. If not, as divine feminines, there is no way to wake up. But remember, beneath all the trigger is an intelligent collapse designed to detach us from distorted projections, collapsing false timelines before we attach to them. So this is where the entire, where the whole process of disabling spiritual bypassing or the whole savior dynamics, they all collapse. So this is also to snap you out of the emotional codependency that you have masked as devotion. So human beings call this abandonment, but Monadic Twin Flames, our soul, we call it activation. That's the reason why, oh dear, I'm running low on battery. I only have 7%. Okay, I'll try to wrap up this discourse very quickly. Oh dear, oh dear. That's, oh my goodness. Let me cross out my emails. All right. Because I really don't want to do this discourse again. So I'm going to try to save as much battery as I can. All right. Back to the second point in this sacred discourse. Why does it feel like we are dying when we are in separation? Because that's exactly what's happening. That version of ourself has to die for our upgraded version to thrive. So the break point actually cuts us off from our etheric body, our emotional matrix, our light body. That's why it doesn't feel like a regular heartbreak, because it isn't. It feels like your world is completely gone because our nervous system is dissolving. We can't eat, we can't breathe, we can't think straight. I remember when I went into my first separation, I didn't eat for 72 hours or maybe more because I didn't know what to do. And I was like working crazy hours at that point. I was in a very early stage in my legal career. So, as you know, yeah, yeah. So I didn't eat, but I was functioning. I was actually thriving and functioning, and I was only drinking water for sustenance because the hurt of rejection was so deep, and the only way I could get my soul to speak to me was to go beyond the material body. And how to suppress the how to suppress the material body? Stop eating. But again, I would not recommend that, because if we were to look at it from a medical point of view, I again thank God that I didn't faint. Again, my age, when you're in your 20s, I think somehow, but this is not recommended. Fasting without consulting a doctor is never recommended. And because I had never fasted for that long and in a short period of time, but I have fasted for like 12, 13 hours. So my body had kind of conditioned itself for fasting. But the pain of my DM's rejection was too deep, because that was the first rejection, right? Who knew there were going to be so many other rejections that followed? But anyway, going back to what it feels like, can't breathe, can't think straight. And for me, I had to think straight because my career is on the line. So the only thing I can't do is can't eat. I had to breathe and I had to think straight because a lot is going on at work. But I needed to connect to my higher self, right? So that's the only way. So what happens is that you start to spiritually disassociate while becoming physically overwhelmed. Nothing makes sense. But the pain of separation is so deep that you feel like you don't want to feel anything to be not able to feel the pain, but it actually gets heightened. But my journey, it had to happen that way for the activations to come through. So for each and every one of us, it's different, of course. But the underlying truth is nothing makes sense, because the pain of separation is a pain that cannot be explained in words. But what actually happens is, because the twin flame field is still intact, but the false overlay, that's what's breaking and that's what's shattering. The egoic self starts to shatter. The attachment that my DM has to be with me, my DM has to love me, all these conditions start to shatter. So when the collapse starts happening, and what is this collapse? The illusion of that safety and that security that 3D relationships tend to project, that's going to break. The belief that my love can fix my DM, that's going to break. The idea that being in union is supposed to be extremely easy, That has to break, because it's not about whether it's easy or tough. It's about understanding that as twin flames, we are meant to be nothing more, nothing less. But why does it feel like we are dying? Because that's the truth. Because we are still uninitiated. And that version of ourselves was built from fear, fantasy, and the need to be rescued. So that's what is dying. And you got to look really deep, because of the fact that this has to happen. The break point is not just pain, right? It's a protocol, like I said. You and your monadic twin flame pre-coded all of this as a soul checkpoint, because until you break open, the original frequency cannot come online. So this is the reason why our sacred divine masculine had to trigger us. And this agreement happened way before we incarnated. So that's the reason why the divine masculine agreement to trigger becomes our greatest wounding. And as the divine feminine, our agreement to hold the soul flame even when everything else looks like betrayal. That's what's happening. It's part of the protocol. But this question would keep coming up. Why would our souls choose this? Why would our soul choose this? Because without it, there cannot be mission activation. The mission will still be dormant. The codes cannot be exchanged. The light body cannot complete its fusion process. And the old karmic architecture, that would distort the third energy field. Because this is never about the relationship. It is about reunion at a molecular level. So that's actually what's going on, guys. So I hope you guys are following me on this. So the next part is, this is when the mirror starts to fracture. The illusion of rejection becomes our own shadow. So when our divine masculine, what our divine masculine does at the separation stage may look like abandonment, cruelty, him being a coward, or utmost betrayal, but the function of the event is not to show you who he is. It's to reveal who you have been pretending to be. You have been pretending to be. So at this break point, the mirror flips. Instead of reflecting your longing, your divine masculine now reflects your disempowered inner child, your romanticized savior complex, your hidden wounds around being chosen, the whole victim complex, the whole, oh, I'm the victim, oh, I never get love, my whole life is bad, I never attract love, everything is bad. All of that assumptions are going to break. Spiritual ego, oh, that love would come without death, without ego death, without depth. All that is going to crack open. That is the magic of our beloved divine masculine. So remember, this is your shadow's audition, not to be punished, but to be retrieved and reintegrated. Your divine masculine isn't rejecting you. Your fractured self is being summoned home. I hope you guys are following me. So, when the breakpoint hits, there is a dimensional bleed through. And when the dimensional bleed through begins, this is what happens. Past life scenes with your divine masculine starts to appear more vividly in your dreams and waking visions. So for me, I kept having a vision, just that lifetime before we entered Earth. and the preparation stages, they were all coming in. So we're kind of like outside of Earth going through cycles of separations in other star systems, more of that military kind of star systems, the negative star systems, planet, and stuff like that. So all of that starts coming in through the dimensional bleed through, past life scenes. And my divine masculine started feeling the same too. So everything started to collapse. Past, present, and future memories all started to collapse. I started to fall very ill, but I kept pushing myself to keep going to work, even though, and somehow I was going. So what happens is that you might feel a lot of physical symptoms, but there will be no medical cause. But one thing big is chronic fatigue. You might feel like you're getting chronic fatigue. So this is a spiritual flu, remember. So you will be seeing a lot of light codes in semi-dream stages, theta, beta stages. So you will start to see your whole wall filled with sequences, frequencies, light language, so depending on where you come from. So all of these are codes coming in, right? Following me there? And then there will be sudden shifts in your psychic ability. Why? Because your higher self is now calling all versions of you across incarnation back into coherence. You're not being punished, you're being reintegrated. So the breakpoint removes the bandwidth wasted on distortion and prepares you for embodiment of your higher self channel. So higher frequency templates start to build and planetary service via third energy starts to anchor. So anything you do, the line of work, anything you do will start to activate through your third energy. So the mission becomes very clear. And for monadic unions, for monadic twin flame unions, we, the divine feminine, we often wake up first. But of course, in rare cases, it could be the other way around. But most of the time, as divine feminines, we wake up first and we feel the breakpoint harder because our role is not to fix the connection, is to alchemize the collapse. So this means we have to face the void without closure. We have to hold love without proof, and we must anchor sacred neutrality while grieving deeply. So what happens after the collapse, right? We surrender, not due to hopelessness, but to truth. And the following begins to unlock. This is where multi-dimensional, if you guys have noticed, because I started uploading my videos after I got into union, but prior to that I was still doing my live since 2021. So if you look at my videos, you will notice how my teachings have evolved through all these stages. So what I'm trying to say is that multi-dimensional access, after I started entering pre-union stages, union stages, I started to see beyond Earth, number one. I started to travel spontaneously with my DM's astral body to a lot of places. And then slowly he started coming back. And it was not a grand event. A lot of my clients asked me, did he come back? No. My divine masculine is a silent initiate. So there was no grand. He just was like, he came back like nothing ever happened. And I accepted him like nothing ever happened because both of us knew everything we did was part of the journey. So, multidimensional access. So the pre-union stage is where you have communication with your divine masculine's higher self. You have very, very clear downloads of your mission codes and our gift starts to activate. So there's a deep energetic field upgrade as well. So integration of monadic strengths start to take in. It starts to weave in with our DNA sequences. There's a greater energy holding capacity for sacred sensuality, and the third eye activation that occurs is what we call through via grief transmutation. So this is the stage when we are initiated to mission work, precise awareness of our sacred work and the release of external validation loops. So this is where magnetization starts to occur. And this is where everything starts to feel and we start to be in more alignment. And this is where, the energies that are not meant to be in our life start dropping away. So this is when our role our role in humanity, our role on planet Earth starts to shape up too. That's when we start living in the frequency of reunion. And for me, I was having a lot of flash forwards of like being in union, like exactly. So my dreams have always been very, very accurate. Even as a child, I'll dream about my exam results and I'll get the exam. Like some points, I will even dream which answers are correct and wrong, and I'll get the exact mark. And even for like major exams, like in Singapore, we have got this PSLE, primary school leaving examination, 3 weeks before the exam. I actually had a dream of my aggregate score, and it was exactly the same aggregate score. Of course, I would joke to myself, I'm so intelligent that I was able to figure out what I got wrong. Anyway, so I was already getting dreams. I was getting dreams of spending time with my DM's family more frequently. We're having a lot. I was having a lot of these dreams of very specific dreams, flash forwards, and they all came true. So that's another sign from my own experience. So that is the reason why, again, guys, I think my battery might go. So I'm just going to wrap this up quick because I don't want to go and get my battery. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up. All right. So this is what today's discourse is about. The separation point, the break point, is the gate to cosmic consciousness. Remember, it is not failure. It is the fulfillment of our sacred roles as monadic twin flames. See it this way. When this happens, everything shatters to rebuild the sacred cause, the journey itself. With that, I hope you have enjoyed this discourse. And guys, if you have any questions, feel free to comment, email me, and tell me. You want to share your experience, go ahead. But again, these videos are public, so I don't know. So with that, I really hope you have enjoyed part 4 in this series. And I'll come back again with part 5, 2% now. So I'm quickly going to tell you what I'm going to talk about. So we are going to go beyond the mind. That's next episode. All right. With that, see you all again with part 5. Bye-bye.